As a reporter, I've traveled the Middle East for many years. It's an area that has always fascinated me, but in my work, I've mainly covered its war zones, its crises, and its tragedies. This journey, which takes me down the Silk Road in the footsteps of Marco Polo, gives me the opportunity of exploring the great historical and cultural significance of this part of the world, its ancient melting pot of peoples and civilizations that have contributed so much to our own. Gansu province is situated on the principal route of the ancient Silk Road, where it passes between the grasslands of Mongolia and the vast Tibetan plateau before arriving in China itself, that of the Han. In the center of this province stands the Zhangye National Geopark, known for its geological formations, sandstone massives in colorful stripes. It attracts tourists from all over the People's Republic. Aside from having the largest population in the world, China is also one of the largest countries, covering 9.5 million square kilometers, 15 times the size of France. Historically, the Chinese have always considered themselves as being the center of the world, which explains the name they give their country, the Middle Empire. Access to this empire has to be earned. From the Uyghur territories of Central Asia, the caravans needed to travel a good 1,000 kilometers due east to arrive in latter-day China. This stretch of the Silk Road was nicknamed the Hexi Corridor. Following this trail from Dunhuang was a bit like taking a journey of initiation from the world of barbarians, that's to say the West, to the Chinese Empire. Several times over the course of its history, China has closed its doors. Sheltered behind the Great Wall, the Middle Empire preferred to live introspectively. Then, the following century, China would once again open up to the world and to new ideas. Centuries of expansion, centuries of contraction, this swinging movement has regulated Chinese history for the last 4,000 years. Over hundreds, not to say thousands of years, the Middle Empire remained voluntarily isolated from the world. But this period is well and truly over. When you see this, you realize that the Chinese are intent upon the dialogue between cultures. Faced with a monument in homage to Roman legionaries, it's really quite impressive. A Roman legionary greeting a Chinese soldier with a karateke salute. This encounter could appear incongruous, but it synthesizes 2,000 years of history along the Silk Road. Ni hao. The explanation behind this statue, in fact, goes back to the beginnings of the caravan trail, when the Romans discovered silk, following one of the worst defeats of their history. During the 1st century BCE, Crassus, son of Triumvir, was jealous of the glory acquired by his colleagues Julius Caesar and Pompey. So he decided to invade Asia Minor, but he was crushed by the cavalry of the Parthian Empire. This was the Battle of Carrhae in the year 53 BCE. The Parthians exiled those they had beaten to the other end of the empire, where the captive Roman soldiers took part in a second battle, this time against the Chinese. Once again defeated, the Chinese deported them even further east. As legend has it, they ended up here in Liqian. As proof, there are villagers here whose eyes and hair are considerably lighter than most Chinese people. They consider themselves to be the last descendants of the lost legions of Crassus and refer to each other as blondes. Is it difficult to grow up blonde as a small child in China, or were you like any other children in the village?
When we were small, when we were school children, we attracted a lot of attention. Sometimes our classmates gave us nicknames. They'd call you Blue Eyes, or even the foreigner. Yeah, really, they would call you the foreigner or English.
We were always made fun of. Oh, the blondie, they'd say, as if it were an illness. The other children teased us. When they got annoyed, they would say, "How come you look like a monkey with blonde fur?" No one really wanted to play with us, which made us angry. That's what it was like.
Recent DNA tests have confirmed the presence of Caucasian genes in Liqian. But nothing proves that this is inherited from the Crassus legions. It could just as well be related to a population from Siberia, or simply the mixture of peoples drawn to the Silk Road. In the old village of Liqian, what was the proportion of people born with light-colored eyes and fair hair?
In the old village of Liqian, there are slightly more than 350 inhabitants, of whom about 50 to 60% have Caucasian traits, like, for example, an aquiline nose, blonde hair, or fair skin. There are more than 100 people with these traits.
And if you had the choice, if you could choose for your children or grandchildren, would you like them to be born blonde, like the old inhabitants of Liqian, or dark-haired, like the other 1.3 billion Chinese?
I'd prefer them to be born like the Chinese, and not blonde. There's not a lot to be said for it.
And what do you think?
Today, for those of us with European features, be it a long nose, very fair skin, or blonde hair, we're above all Chinese. History is history. Today, we have our feet firmly on the ground. We are Chinese. As far as the appearance of our children and grandchildren is concerned, the important thing is that they're happy in the village, in our society, that they're keen to see our village and ourselves develop well. It matters little what they look like.
Today, the authorities are keen to further the notion of these supposed ancestors, the sons of the sky who deified their emperors, paid homage to another emperor who became a deity, Augustus. They've gone as far as building a pagoda in the form of a Roman temple to pay homage to these ancestors. What's more, construction work has already begun for a vast fun park and a cinema studio. In the Buddhist doctrine, everything is an eternal recommencement. And in Liqian, the conquering soul of the legionaries seems to have found its reincarnation in today's inhabitants. They're crazy, these Romans. Well, these Chinese, to build on the edge of the Gobi Desert a legionary castrum, a cinema studio to film historical epics, and what's more, this enormous Buddhist temple in the form of an ancient Roman temple. So whether you agree with the theory of the lost legions of Crassus or not, it's nonetheless an impressive demonstration of dialogue between cultures. And the message is clear. Modern China is open to the world. To the south of Liqian is the capital of the province of Gansu, Lanzhou. The city stretches along 30 kilometers of the Yellow River, or Huanghe, a vital artery of northern China. Historically, it was crossed on rafts made of inflated sheepskin sacks, some of which are still in service. It's funny to find yourself on one of the oldest forms of transport dating back to the depths of prehistory in the middle of an ultra-modern city of 5 million inhabitants with an aerial lift, bridges and skyscrapers everywhere. Here, there's no doubt about it. We are well and truly in China. Mandarin is spoken by everyone and sometimes sung, as with these retired people who meet up in the public parks to practice. Marco Polo spent more than a year in Lanzhou, employed as an imperial official. He wrote a description of the famous narrowest system, which was used to irrigate the outskirts of the city. One thing which is striking in Lanzhou, apart from the prosperity and the enormity of the city, is the smell. The city is extremely polluted, and you can smell it. This is indeed one of the great challenges that China is faced with, equating the economic boom with ecological necessities. As an industrial city, Lanzhou uses coal extensively, which explains the air pollution, made worse by the sunken relief along the river. In the higher parts, away from the modern city, can be found numerous temples, including this one dedicated to the Taoist doctrine. It's called the Three Stars, in homage to prosperity, longevity, and good fortune. The Way of Tao is one of the three great pillars of Chinese thinking. It draws upon the teachings of Laozi, a sage of the 6th century BCE, time which Chinese historians call the Spring and Autumn period. It's to Laozi that's attributed the Book of the Way and of Virtue, at the heart of the Taoist doctrine, notably structured by mystic quietism and the search for equilibrium between the opposing principles of yin and yang. A philosophy, a life ethic, and a religion, Taoism irrigates numerous aspects of daily life, particularly including Chinese medicine and architectural feng shui. Perhaps one of the most striking aspects of modern China when you visit a city such as Lanzhou is the internal coherence of this 4,000-year-old civilization. Yesterday, the European colonial intrusion, followed by communism, nowadays sprinkled with capitalism. In China, modes of government change, but the essential remains. We still have to investigate one of the most famous aspects of culture in Lanzhou, which is celebrated throughout China. It's pasta. Contrary to popular belief, the Chinese don't only eat rice. In northern China, the culinary mainstay is wheat, or rather wheat pasta. A bowl of noodles.
A bowl of beef noodles?
How much?
7 yuan's the bowl of noodles.
Oh, that and that. Okay, I'll take a ticket.
Here's your ticket. You go over there.
Thank you. Hello. Bowl of noodles.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And if you think I understood that. What do you put in the magic potion?
In this potion, we put Sichuan pepper, brown cardamom, slices of fresh ginger, and we stir it. In China, we refer to these ingredients as medicaments. We let these medicaments simmer to make a broth. It's more pure and natural. These are Chinese medicaments.
Ah, they make you strong.
Yeah.
Like Obelix. What do you think about the fact that one of the emperor's officials, who was based here as a collector of salt tax, stole the recipe and took it to Venice? I'm talking about Marco Polo, of course.
I don't think it's very serious. The noodles culture knows no frontiers. We're rather pleased about it. Chinese noodles have their particularity, French noodles have theirs, Italian noodles all have their particularity. We're rather happy to be able to share this culture.
A wealthy entrepreneur, Mr. Mao Jun, has built up a fast food chain based on noodles throughout China and even in various Chinese neighborhoods in several North American cities. More than 400 restaurants opened in 4 years. That seems extraordinary. How do you explain such a business boom?
At the beginning, Dongfangong was handed down to us by our ancestors over 3 generations. The brand itself was created 17 years ago, but the know-how from our ancestors dates back over 100 years. Over the first 13 years, we took the time to accumulate knowledge, gain experience, but also administrative skills. Then we dedicated 4 years to developing the 410 restaurants. Today, people work longer hours, and they don't really have the time to cook at home. So they don't have much choice. They eat out. But this situation is very profitable for fast food chains.
Between you and me, are the Chinese strong at financial matters? Do they like business?
The Chinese have been in the habit of trading since antiquity. China was once an agricultural country. Neighbors would exchange their different produce between themselves. Bartering is humanity's oldest way of doing business. That's what trade is all about. The Chinese particularly enjoy doing trade. They like developing, widening their activities. Today, in the 4 corners of the earth, there are Chinese doing business.
Over the course of my journey, I've been perfecting my technique by observing the Chinese. You need to suck in very, very strongly to cool it down, and then, and it's not easy drinking soup with chopsticks, well, there's progress to be made, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So how does this work? Here we go. Even bus stations seem futuristic. Oh, there aren't many people. I thought it would be crowded. It's funny, you pay a sort of machine and it opens. To fight pollution, the authorities are constructing an entire public transport network. Tramways, underground, bikes, and of course the omnipresent electric scooter. China is trying everything to kick its petrol addiction. In Lanzhou, it's once again the buses leading the market. At the time when the Silk Road began, chroniclers nicknamed this the Golden City. The Han Dynasty built a whole section of the Great Wall of China just to protect it. The rock star Liu Kun lives in one of the numerous modern neighborhoods of this mushrooming city, where apartments are built at the drop of a hat, like in the rest of the country. As an artist and singer, Liu Kun has much greater freedom of expression than most Chinese. His rock group, Diko Ai, sells hundreds of thousands of CDs, but its hits are mainly downloaded and pirated tens of millions of times. So, you come from Liqian, the village whose inhabitants may have descended from the lost Roman legions of Crassus. Do these origins influence your music?
Yes, they influence it a lot. Since I grew up here, I take an interest in the history of the place. People ask me, how come you're not like the rest? How is it you have a brown beard and curly hair? So it's interested me since childhood. And more with my musical discovery, I feel that I have a part of this history in my blood. I find it mysterious. I'm interested in the mysterious culture of the place of my birth. So I continue to learn, to think, to look, and to listen. I get inspiration when I'm out walking.
What made you become a musician? How do you become one in China?
I was in journalism at university, and after graduating, I became a journalist. At university, I used to make music with friends. So, as I say, I graduated and started working as a journalist, but I ended up thinking that I should find a job which suited me better. My work allowed me to give my opinion about the world, about society. But, you know, when you work as a journalist, it's not always good. You don't always tell the truth. So I decided to make music in order to express myself.
And before the modern Silk Road, which internet is to an extent, how could a kid growing up in a village in the depths of China have access to music by the Doors or AC/DC?
In our generation of young Chinese, we discovered rock through audio cassettes. When they became worn out and were thrown away in the West, they got past customs and were copied in China. The most damaged ones were stuck back together. Our entire knowledge of Western music comes from audio cassettes. That was the first stage. The second stage, as internet developed, consisted of downloading music online. In China, music is pirated.
The Chinese generally have no qualms about knocking down all traces of the past when they build something bigger. But in the province of Gansu, the authorities wanted to conserve what they call a reminder village. The small town of Qingcheng was therefore left intact and was even restored to show future generations how their ancestors lived. These people playing Chongqi, Chinese chess, are genuine villagers who live in a sort of open-air museum. Time passes slowly in Qingcheng, which has become the conservatory of the Confucian traditions of eternal China. The village works along the lines of a cooperative in which work and leisure are distributed amongst the inhabitants. Well done. There's not only ping pong in Qingcheng. The village notably possesses a very ancient Confucian academy, which is both a temple and a school teaching the thinking of the sage Kongzi, or Master Kong. Equally called the School of the Learned, Confucianism is undoubtedly the central thinking which partially shapes Chinese culture and society, notably through respect for the established order, filial piety and the search for harmony. Although the China of the Cultural Revolution under Mao Zedong criticized Confucius, the present regime, while still officially communist, goes out of its way to promote the Confucian heritage, seen as a stabilizing factor in a country with 1.3 billion inhabitants. Another cultural heritage promoted in the village of Qingcheng is the famous Chinese opera. Born here in northern China, Zhaju alternates dialogue and song. These actresses are performing for villagers parts of the most famous piece in the repertoire, the Zhijiangji, or the Story of the Western Wing. This masterpiece is by Wang Shifu, the great opera author and propagator of the Confucian message. piece tells the story of thwarted love between a young orphan girl and a mandarin, that's to say a highly placed official in the emperor's service. This story unfolds 1500 years ago under the Tang dynasty, one of the most prosperous periods for the Silk Road, a period which everyone in China still remembers today, 15 centuries later.